2015 is now being recorded, and wanted to just welcome everybody and go down the roll call here that I had so far. Myself, I am here, Mary Pat Gallus, chairing this meeting today, along with Cheryl Wakefield from COA, who is dutifully taking minutes for us, and Glenda Mitchell. You there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Welcome. Holly Darby and Whitney.
Good morning.
Are you there?
Yes, good morning. Can
okay,
you hear me?
We'll count that as a yes. Meredith Koob.
Good morning.
Meredith, you here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, was that Meredith?
This is Lucy Dreyer, Colorado Neurological Institute.
Okay, Lucy, must have just added to the call. Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I think Meredith said hello. Monica Wolf.
Good morning.
Good morning, Monica from Alamosa. Glad to have you. Susanna.
Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to have you on the call. Next, I have Connie Young.
Good morning.
Good morning. And so far, did I get everybody? Oh, no, Crystal. Looks like you added.
I did. Hello there.
Good morning, Crystal. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so that's who we have so far. It looks like, you know,
Mary
a couple
Pat.
more may add. We'll see. But
Mary
welcome,
Pat.
everybody.
Hey,
I'm sorry, who else?
This is Melissa from Boulder.
Oh, Melissa, good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to be kind of annoying. I'm changing phones here in a minute, so I'll mute myself so I don't interrupt.
That's fine. Was there anybody else we missed?
Mary Pat.
Yes?
This is Meredith. You can hear
Oh,
me
okay,
now.
great. Good. Oh, and it looks like Ellen. Ellen Pilstrom, did you just add to the call? Looks like Ellen was added. Okay. Well, we'll move along then. In our next slide is going to show you our agenda for today. So we start with our introductions, which we just did. Don't really have any brief updates as far as the collaborative. We're just glad to be meeting again this month. And then we'll go, I will report on behalf of Kelly's report, and then you can see Connie has several items to report to us on, updating us on grant year 3, the health links update that we started last month, talking about requests for some geographic data. We're going to also talk a little bit about quality assurance and regarding our fidelity visits, and I may be able to provide some input on what we've been doing here at COA as far as from a collaborative standpoint. Would like to hit that new topic, participant retention, and then update you all on statewide trainings, and then any other future items that anyone would like to suggest. We would welcome those. All right, so that's our agenda for today. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is our first slide, which is welcome to everybody. Okay. So let me just read for you what Kelly has asked me to read. She would like to thank everyone for sending in their corrections to the license holders' names and so forth. Lori has been working with NCOA and has made those corrections in the database. She also says thank you to everyone for working hard to get the CDPHE, the data that was entered in time for the report that Connie needed to send for the grant. So just another thank you. Lori also worked hard to get it all entered, and she did send a final data report to Connie on March 30th. Phew! So thank you all. That would be a thanks to Lori, Kelly, and Connie, it sounds like, for getting that information in a timely manner on our behalf. And then second of all, Kelly mentions that Lori and Kelly have talked about doing periodic quality assurance checks with the license holders to be sure the data they send in is entered correctly into the NCOA database. She says we do these QA checks internally, but it was valuable to get feedback from the license holders. We will discuss this process in more detail and bring a proposal back to the collaborative in the next month or two for their response. So again, she says, thank you everyone for getting us corrections and for getting us the data. And that was what Kelly had to share today. Any other questions or comments? Not that I can answer them. I'm not Kelly. If not, I think we will move on to the next item, which is our monthly Grant Year 3 update. Connie, do you want to give us a little follow-up on either the carryover funding and sustainability plan?
Sure. So the carryover budget is still in DC, so that's basically where that is. I believe it moved from their fiscal person to wherever it goes after that. So we're still waiting for that, and then once that comes back, hopefully it will come back approved, and we need to put it through clearance here, so it's still a ways off. Hopefully you'll know more by next month. And sustainability plan, I have a draft of the plan from Maryland Nonprofits, and so we're reviewing that internally, and I'm guessing we should have that by next meeting as well. And then I think I mentioned before that we'd like to have a conference call where Wendy would be on the call to sort of, talk about the plan and, help just discuss a little bit about where we go from here. Any questions on either of those? I do have the summary of our in-person meeting completed. Would you all be interested in receiving a copy of that?
I would say sure. That would sound great. Anybody else?
I would like one, Connie. This is Monica.
Okay, yeah, that's probably a silly question actually now that I think about it, because even when I was looking at it, reminded me of some things that we went over that, if you don't, it's easier to get that reminder in person, so I will send that out to everybody. Thank you.
That would be great. I did have just another clarification on the carryover funding, Connie. So
yeah.
We anticipate we won't be hearing anything till maybe May. When you say next month, is that the month you mean? Not April.
Well, I just meant that for the next conference call, hopefully I'll have an update. I don't really know what the process is in DC, and it always seems like they think it'll be faster than it will, so sort of like it is for us here. So. Yeah,
I know you can't predict.
I know that's the issue of the classes.
So that applies to the potential carryover funds for any additional AHEC reimbursements, correct?
Yes. As
well as then, COA, we have our own contract, and we're waiting on maybe some answer on that as well for carryover funds.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify it was both of those. So, okay.
If anything changes or I get an update, I'll, something definitive, then we'll get back to everybody as soon as we can. And Lindsay Blackwelder would be contacting the license holders, but again, it hasn't even come back here to start the clearance process. I asked our admin person to get the paperwork together, though, so that we can, as soon as we get it, we can run it. Start the process.
That would be great. I know, I'm sure like everyone else, we at COA are strategically looking at that date, knowing that no classes can be submitted till after that contract is signed. So we're actually talking with some of our partners now about classes for June or July start dates, so that, with hopes and our fingers crossed that might be a safe plan.
Well, I would think by then, yes. It's just the hard part that you all have told me about is trying to get people to come. But I wish, again, that's the best I can say at this point.
Any other questions for Connie on those topics? If not, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item. And again, this is Connie giving us an update on HealthLinks.
And this will be quick because Lily and I were supposed to meet a couple weeks ago to talk a little bit more about everything, and we had to cancel that. We haven't rescheduled, but I anticipate we'll be doing that, and then I'll see if she can join us next time or how we want to proceed with that. I did have a question I was thinking of, though. There's looking at the list of people who might be able to participate in something we do with them, and for anyone who wasn't on the call last time and doesn't know, HealthLinks is an organization that works with employers on employee wellness, safety and wellness programs, and they have a certification program that they promote to employers, and if the employers agree or are interested in that, then they look at how can they improve their program for employees, and it's, it's kind of a, I guess, sort of a credential for them as a company, and also a way to attract employees, and also a way to save money on, accidents and sick leave and all of that kind of thing. So they go out and they have staff who go out and consult with employers about whether they're interested, and if so, then what the status is of their programs, and then make some offer suggestions and consultation on how to improve that to meet their standards. And they agreed that they thought CDSMP is one way, one tool that they could have to inform employers about this program and see who is interested in referring some of their employees to that. So for a lot of people on the phone, this may not be relevant because, or maybe not as relevant because of the age restriction for a lot of you. But so I did want to ask who on the call thinks their organization might be interested, or at least wants to stay involved in the conversation at this point, but who might be interested in trying to get referrals from HealthLinks for people into CDSMP. And the reason I'm asking that is just to see if we should have a smaller group that works on this, or whether we should continue to talk about it on the conference call. So again, because certainly they'll have employees who are over 60, so it's potentially something for everybody. But I wanted to ask if we should keep talking about it on the conference call, or if you'd rather have a smaller group, depending on who's interested.
Connie, this is
I'm sorry, who was the first person?
Koa.
This is Glenda Mitchell,
Okay.
and the Center for African American Health would like to participate with HealthLinks. I'm familiar with their program from Diabetes Prevention Program. They've worked with that as well.
Okay, yeah, great. Okay, someone else was chiming, or maybe a couple people.
Yeah, Connie, this is Crystal from Secahec. I would need to talk with Doreen and Eve to see if that's something, but it's a conversation I would like to at least pursue. So
Okay.
not saying for sure yes, but at least continue the conversation.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Connie, this is Lucy. I don't think it would be beneficial for us.
Yeah, okay.
Connie, this is Monica. I wasn't in on the webinar last month, but maybe we could talk later and I could get a little bit more information from you as far as just more information as far as the process goes.
Sure. And we, sure, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say, because it might be something, I don't know if we would benefit from it, but at least I'd like to talk more about it to see,
Sure.
Go into more details. So.
Okay.
Connie, this is Holly.
Hi, Holly.
Hi. I think for us, we probably, just kind of wait it out, and then once you guys had a system going, for those employees that were 60 and older, then, then we could jump involved. But for the initial stage, I think we'll let you guys hash out the details.
Okay. It sounds like there are probably a couple other people, but I guess maybe we'll have one more conversation about it next time once I talk with Lily, and then we can decide, whether, it sounds like everybody might, or most people, except right now Lucy doesn't think her clients would be appropriate, but if it'd certainly be easier to talk about it on, I guess, for shorter discussions, and then announcements, that sort of thing we could have on the conference call, and then when we need to delve into more detail, we could work on a smaller group. Is there anybody else on the phone who wants to be involved at this point, or at least wants to keep their options open?
Hey, Connie, this is Melissa. Yes, I'd like to keep my options open.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. All right, thank you.
And then I think you got COA. We certainly would be interested.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
Just another question. This is statewide, correct? So, I mean, all these different areas.
They have a lot of,
from this
yeah, I know they've focused more in certain areas, but it's pretty broad.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and they're of course expanding all the time, so I think they have, as I recall, like 200 employers that they're working with already. So.
And then I wanted to just, as a side note to Monica in particular, or anyone else, if you missed the meeting last month, which I did, and then I went on our website, the Self-Management Colorado website, you can listen to the entire meeting, and I think it might be helpful to hear her, Lucy's, I really enjoyed hearing, I'm sorry, what was it? Lily, excuse me, I said Lucy. Lily's explanation is very informative, so you could also take advantage of that, Monica, if you wanted to.
Oh, great, thank you.
It was quite exciting for me to actually take advantage of that tool. You know, I haven't had to do that, and it worked very nicely. So I was glad.
Well, yeah, sorry. I'm hopeful that this can be one piece of our long-term sustainability. Lily thought that there's a possibility employers would consider paying for the classes, if we get it started while we've still got grant funds, and that'd be a nice way to kind of pilot it with a few people anyway. But
yeah,
if there's enough value seen, then hopefully we could get some financial support.
Yeah, I would totally endorse that. I know we've done that with the City of Lakewood Employee Wellness, and we've done 4 classes now with 4 different divisions within their city at different days and times. I think that's, as we mentioned before, we did some 7 a.m. for street workers who then went out on shift, and we've done some at night shift for police department. That was 9 to 11:30 p.m. But if you can, think outside the box, and they did financially support all those. So I definitely agree. It's a good potential.
No, that's good. I didn't know about that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. We can move on, I think.
So we're going to move on to the next slide, which, of course, is Connie's got some great thoughts on requests for geographic data. So maybe you want to share that.
Yeah, I went back, and as I was looking back at the original grant application that was submitted for this program, a couple commitments were made that that I'd like to assess anyway, and one of those is that the goal was to increase the geographic reach from 62% of Colorado counties to 95%. Not sure we're going to reach that, but I'd like to ask you all what the easiest way for me to get information on any classes by county that have been held since the grant started. And I don't think the data that you all put in, that doesn't have county, does it, from the participants or from your class?
Yes, yeah, it does. Those demographic participant survey forms, we have them, I think. Oh,
Probably
no, you know what? I should be looking at one. I
yeah,
could be wrong.
I didn't look at that either.
Here at COA, we layer on another sheet to gather other data for some of our funding sources, and I think that's where we get county on ours.
Yeah, I should have actually looked at this before I got on the call, but I just thought of that yesterday. Let me see, I can probably pull that up. Let's come back to that. I'll try to look that up so we don't just wait while I try to find it.
Yes, I just looked at the form, and it does not include county. You're correct. And we have it on our top sheet. So as far as our data, we do track county, but that wouldn't be all inclusive for everyone. So good question,
so
how to recapture that.
So what we could...
This is
Connie,
Monica.
are you wanting the counties of all the participants or just where the class was actually held?
Yeah, where the class was held.
Okay, because I know, this is Crystal, I know that I can go through, I have a spreadsheet and I can say what, like indicate which counties were reached and then send that to you.
Would that be easy for everybody to do if we had like the printout again from CDPHE with all the classes, and then if you looked at the corrected implementation site, would you easily know that that was in which county that was in?
I think so.
I mean,
so you want to know where the class was held, not the county of the individuals. That would be a lot easier.
Yeah, to
get that information.
Connie, this is Monica. It's on the cover
Monica?
sheet. Do you get a copy of the workshop cover sheet?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, perfect. Although I'll have to see if CDPHE enters that. Hopefully they do. But yeah, I just glanced over that and just saw Speedy. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let me just get with CDPHE about that, and we don't need to spend more time on it. And hopefully they have that, and that will be easy.
But it's not on there.
The thing is, we have so many classes that draw from 4 or 5 different counties.
You mean the participants come from 4 or 5 different counties?
Yeah, and
yeah. Well, I think I'll
that
just
would
go
help your data or not.
Yeah, that's a good question. Cheryl really stays on top of our data. So, you know, if we have a class in one county, it would only show that county, but it could mean that 3 or 4 other counties are represented within that class. And I'm going to guess Statewide and others have that same, you know, some of Monica's classes where people are crossing counties to come to a class. You might get a broader representation knowing that.
But we don't have that data without going through all of the individual participant information sheets, right, and figuring where is this city and what county. Yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, I could mention that, but I think the original data was based on counties, so this would be a good comparison. That's a good point, though, and I see what you're saying. Sounds like it'd be too time-consuming, but.
Well, Connie, I think I know that for, say for certain regions that it serves more than one county, so I think if we know that, we can maybe state that. If we know that we serve this county and that county, not saying that something that we hold in Pueblo will be something that we hold in Pueblo.
Oops. I'm not sure who that was, but it was either breaking up or someone else was talking at the same time.
That was
you were saying that you,
Crystal,
you were saying that you serve. Don't you love the delay?
Yeah, there was a delay and then it was echoing. So I know that for certain classes that it would cover, it would reach more than one location and more than one county. Not saying that something that we hold in Pueblo is going to reach down to Baca County. I wouldn't say that. But if there's something held, say, in Baca, then it's quite possible that Bent is being served too, because they're right next to each other.
That's a good point. Maybe what I could do is look at this, see if CDPHE has county in their database, which I hope they do, and then I could just ask each of you to tell me what other counties are, you know, for something that's in Baca County. Any other counties that you know have people have come from, and I could just add that into the narrative. But as far as looking for the counties, and we'll start with that and then add that in. So yeah, that's a good suggestion and a good point. Thank you. So I won't ask for anything right now.
Okay. And is this going to be retroactive from the beginning of 2015 or the beginning of the third grant year back in, September 1st, or the 3 years?
Well, yeah, it was for the whole. It was a goal for the whole 3 years. So I'll go back to the whole 3-year period and just see. I mean, I know that sometimes there's been like maybe one class, but still, I'll just look at what counties, in which counties was some class provided sometime in the past 3 years.
Okay. Well, I know we keep our data too, and if we can be helpful in that regard, we're happy to do that. And we will probably have a more accurate count of the counties of the participants. So if we can help in that regard, we're happy to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right. Any more on that? Anybody? Otherwise, I'm going to move on. So our next topic is talking about quality assurance. I think particularly regarding our fidelity visits. And I added my name to this topic. I know Connie mentioned that we needed to discuss it. But I wanted to also maybe start with, Connie, if you don't mind, kind of saying what we currently are doing as wearing the collaborative hat as far as fidelity visits. Would you like that foundation laid?
Yeah, maybe I could just say why I brought it up, and then that would be great to hear from you. Also, in looking back at the original grant application, it said that we were going to track that information. And that also came up in a conversation with someone from from NCOA, and I just was thinking that maybe we haven't been doing that too well. I know there are a lot of requirements under Stanford's license, and sometimes it may be hard to track all of those, or in some cases maybe understand all of those. So I empathize with that, but we do need to make sure that we're doing those in a timely way. So that's what I was wondering, is if we have that information, and if not, if we can start collecting it somehow.
Okay. So on behalf of the collaborative, historically, when we got started in year one, I know that a small team included Lindsay, Holly, I believe, Susan Milligan, addressing this issue of doing fidelity visits and sort of setting a standard, a quality of standard across the state. They developed a training tool, did a webinar, which several of us participated live, but then it was recorded, and that sort of set the standard for how fidelity should be done by the individuals performing the fidelity, the coach, as we call it. So that took place, and then all of the license holders got on board with that and either viewed the video, which I believe is available on our website, and or we've sent copies to folks who wanted to just have a DVD of it. But so that whoever has completed that step, that information that they signed off that they had done a fidelity training, and that form, the hard copy, was sent to COA, and we store that in a file. So we do know who has completed that. If someone has let us know, then we have that file. So that's one standard of collecting information. Now, we don't know if people are doing fidelities and not having viewed that. We're not aware of that. We only know who has been sent that form to us. And we've been collecting that for now. We're into year 3 doing that. Not a lot of new names recently, but there's a stack, and they're representing all the license holders in some regard. So I know we do that, and then the fidelity form itself was revised at that time, and that's the current form I believe all of us are using. And it states at the bottom of that form to submit that. And currently, I did one yesterday, and I noticed it still says Lindsay McIntosh as chair of the collaborative. But to send that completed fidelity form also to the COA office, which again we are keeping on file all the hard copies on behalf of the collaborative. So anyone who does do that, we certainly get those, and we've gotten many that way. We've gotten some recently from different license holders. Mainly those seem to get emailed to us with a scanned copy, or sometimes they're faxed to us, and rarely but occasionally a hard copy is mailed to us. So we have a file that has all of those fidelities that are sent to us. What we don't know is what we don't know. So if there are fidelities happening around the state by other license holders, but that information isn't sent to us, we have no idea. We don't track that. We don't have the bandwidth to do that. So all we are doing at this point is receiving information. So whether it's, yes, I've gone through the Fidelity Coach training, or yes, we performed a fidelity. There is some discrepancy, if I'm not mistaken. Cheryl sitting here, who is the master of all record keeping, have we gotten some fidelities where we don't have that they've gone through the training, where we don't recognize the name of the person doing the fidelity?
I didn't actually look for that.
Okay. So as far as cross-referencing that, we may or may not have actually even done that.
I think the majority of them, but gosh, I'd have to look before I actually said.
Okay, so we're going to assume right now that probably most everyone who we've gotten them from has done the training, but we'd have to double check that as another step in our busy workload. And then, of course, the expectation, as you mentioned, Connie, is that from Stanford that every license holder has that responsibility anyway to track their own records. We keep a spreadsheet of who all is doing fidelities, who needs fidelities, when are they ready, when are they due, etc.
Within COA. You mean
within
COA.
COAs, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be an assumption there that all the license holders are doing that, and does that information need to be collected and gathered statewide in some regard? But the step we're doing right now is not capturing, to the best of our knowledge, everything, because again, we don't know what we don't know. So yeah. If that kind of explains where we're at currently. Any other thoughts that anybody else has, or questions, Connie?
Well, in terms of really complying with Stanford's requirements, there's, and then the webinar that we have, I think that's a really good tool. I was just looking, oh, wait a minute. There it is right there. It is on the Self-Management Colorado website. Under, you go to Partners, and then, how do I get to that? Oh, it's under the tab for webinars. It's the very first item there. Mm-hmm. So that's a great tool for knowing how to do it, but then there's the time frame, and I know that at least one person doesn't know about the requirements, because I was asked a question about that a while back. It's like when people tracking when the last class they provided was, and I mean, and then when did they have a fidelity visit, if it was within the time frame. So it's kind of, I don't know if we, I feel like I need to report to our grant sources that how we're doing that, at least how we're going to do it if we haven't already. So I guess what I could do is, just because we tend to have a lot of things to discuss, I'd like to get input on it. One thought I had just now is if we had a spreadsheet that had, the name of the leader and when, when they're, or, if they're still active, and then when their last fidelity visit was, and when the next one was, so that, we're doing one every year, and, just provide something like that, maybe some kind of standard simple spreadsheet that people could complete and fill in, obviously complete and maybe send in to the collaborative to
Well, I may suggest then, if you would like, and for the purposes of reporting on the grant, we are happy to share what we do, what it looks like anyway. That could be shared on a screen on the next meeting or something like that, or we can send that copy to all the license holders and, you know, say here's one way that you can track, you know, your fidelity visits, and certainly not the only way. Would that then, doing that sort of follow-up might help meet your grant response?
Yeah, and then, you know, after the grant, I would see that as probably being one of the responsibilities of whoever champions the cause of the program statewide, you know. But could you just send that to me first, Mary Pat, and I can see whether that would meet the needs that I'm seeing, because I don't want to take everybody's time and then have me say, oh, no, that won't work, or we need to add something and then ask, you know, send it back out again and all that. But that would be helpful. So if you could do that, that would be a great first step. Thank you.
Sure, and maybe someone else too has a tracking method they like.
Yeah. Does anyone else on the phone?
This is Crystal. I know that we have a spreadsheet of all the leaders that have been trained by SECAHEC, or like whenever we had the key trainers come in, everybody that was trained. I have a listing of when their workshops, whenever they did workshops, and then also the most recent fidelity check and who performed those fidelity checks. So I have that all on one spreadsheet.
That sounds good. Would you mind sending me just your template for that too, Crystal?
Sure, I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's good. Anyone else? Any other questions, thoughts, suggestions regarding fidelity? The other thing, Connie, too, I was just thinking about is I know that that group reconvened, and if Holly's on the phone, and that they re-looked at it to see if the training was still current and didn't feel any need to change it. So I know that it wasn't like they just did it once, and I know they've had like an annual review of it as well to make sure that what that training included was still appropriate. So that's another step that they've continued.
Okay, great.
Mary Pat.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Monica. On the Self-Management Colorado website, are there forms on there? I just want to make sure that the form that I'm using for fidelity checks and that type of thing is current, is the most recent form. Can I get forms on that website also?
I don't know. I can't pull it up because I have this webinar on my computer. If someone else is on it, you could double check. I'm not really certain.
Okay, and I can go in and check. I just didn't know right offhand if you knew that there were forms on that website also.
If not, I can certainly follow up with Lindsay and see if that could be an added link or attachment to our website. That would probably be very helpful.
Okay.
Hi,
good idea.
This is Glenda, and I'm looking on. Yes, I'm looking on the self-management website. I do see the Fidelity Policy Manual, but I don't see the forms and reporting instructions as we're trying to do it as a collaborative. I don't see anything on that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that would be great if that could be added. And I don't know if this is sort of a separate issue, but it's related to the website that I had asked a while back if we could create a way for just those of us who are really involved in the collaborative to go into, or our partners to go into all of these the partner side of things, rather than make it like a public and one that you have to have a login for. I'm not really sure, like if I were someone considering taking a class and I happen to look at monthly meetings and all that, I don't know if that might make me uncomfortable. And also we talk about things that I'm just not sure really.
Okay. Let me pass
it's
that
not
on.
that anything's a secret, but I don't know if we really want to have it just where anybody and everybody could
Okay.
see all of that.
So perhaps there's parts of the website that we would want to consider a privacy passcode sort of access. I will say right away what comes to my mind is the cost of adding that type of whatever you call it, software, hardware, access.
Yeah, I don't know what's involved, but
yeah, I mean that could be a discussion that has to continue with a cost added sort of thing. So I will bring it. I will definitely mention it.
I wonder if it'd be easier to, I wonder if, I was just saying, I wonder if it'd be easier to move it to a separate site, maybe to have a partner site somewhere else, and then, chances of somebody finding that if it's not called self-management something, it would be less likely that people would be going into that. That might be, maybe that'd be a less costly alternative. But anyway, you can look at that.
Just as a follow-up, the forms are in the Fidelity Manual on page 9 if anybody's looking for them.
Oh, thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
So they were there, but they're
there. They're just in the manual. Yeah.
I wondered if they might be. Okay, great. Good to know.
The form is there, but there again, there's no instructions on how the collaborative is reporting, how we're to report into the collaborative is what I'm saying.
I think it just says it at the bottom of the form. It says when you complete a Fidelity, it has, please submit a copy of this form to Lindsay McIntosh, chair of the collaborative. There's an address. It's at the bottom of the actual form.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was also part of the manual instructions, but anyway.
I believe it is under logistics.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me or pulling it up.
And,
so.
I think that's page 6, but I think it does have logistics. Because I just did one recently, so I know I reviewed all this, so I'm sure.
Good
a
job,
little bit maybe more.
Mary Pat, this is Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, as far as license holders go, you're just responsible, as you all already know, you're just responsible for doing your own Fidelity. The Fidelity Manual was created just to make sure that everybody was doing the same kinds of Fidelity, and you're correct in saying that the instructions of what to do with that Fidelity is at the bottom of the page, and without looking at the manual, it's been a while since I've looked at it, but like Melissa was saying, like in the logistics, you're just supposed to send that into COA, and you all have been keeping, like you said, track of, who's done Fidelity and, which leaders had that done on and whatnot. But it is the responsibility of the license holder to know which one of their leaders need to have Fidelity done and make arrangements to have that Fidelity done. So the Fidelity Manual is just to make sure that everybody was doing the same kind of Fidelity, and that and to send that into COA. So what we probably need to do in looking at the Fidelity form itself, update that, because it does have Lindsay's name on it. So if we want to put your name on it, we can update that and then send out an updated form to the collaborative. And then maybe that could be added as a separate form next to the Fidelity Manual on the website.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That way they would have like a Word document, a working document that they can type in,
right.
Because the one that's in the Fidelity Manual is a PDF, so they wouldn't be able to really write in that.
Yeah.
Well, and I
good
know
suggestion.
that
I will definitely follow up on what that might take to do that, because it would be handy.
Yeah, and I've got the hard copy or the electronic copy of the Fidelity form, so I can update it if you would like.
Oh, good. You have the original. Okay, great.
Well, and I have the ability to make
again.
a PDF. I have the ability to make a PDF, a form, which I did. I think whenever I've submitted Fidelity checks, I have it typed in because I changed it to where it's a working form. So if there's anything I can do to help with that process, let me know. This is Crystal.
Mm-hmm. And this is Melissa, and I don't know where I got it, but in my forms I had one that was a writable one. That's what I used, so I can send that to y'all as well.
That'd be great.
Good, good.
Okay.
Well, I think for the most part, we have a sense just by the numbers that we get that we're probably pretty close to getting most of those fidelity copies. But again, not knowing what is actually happening. We don't always get all the classes posted either. Sometimes we'll get a fidelity report and we never got that class posted on the website because we didn't get it on the front end, the information. So we know there's a little bit of mismatch here and there. So, but my guess is we're probably pretty darn close. You know, I don't know. I'm looking at Cheryl who tracks all that. We're probably 80–85%. I'm just guessing. So it would be great to sort of, you know, clean up the edges, so to speak. Any more on that topic, Connie? Do you have anything?
No, I think that's a good start. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so we're doing good on time. We're at 9:50. Wow. This is great.
I have a couple things to add too at some point.
So we have one more new topic, that participant retention, and then maybe after that interject your other thoughts, or is it something you want to put in before we have this discussion?
Maybe I should mention these others first. The grant update, also I wanted to mention that the Administration on Community Living has issued a announcement for another year of funding. It was due yesterday, and I thought I would get a notice in my email, but I found out you have to go to this website, so I just opened it this morning, and I obviously haven't had time to look through everything. The basic description was provided earlier, so I knew like the nutshell version of it. So I need to look through this and see what we can do, whether we would qualify. I assume we would, but they did say that they anticipated funding only 10 awards, and right now there are 20-some states that participate, so not everybody will be getting funding. And it does seem like they might be interested in some new proposals as well. I don't think this was part of a conversation, not based on writing. I mean, not based on reading all of this, but it sounded like they might have a slight priority for new states. So I will look through this, and then if we are eligible, then the process we have here, which is kind of new, is that we have a shorter form that sort of describes what we're going to propose, and then we do those documents go through our approval process, and while those are going through the approval process, we go ahead and actually write the grant, just because we can't, by the time we get it back from approval, we don't have enough time to write the grant. So that's what I'll be doing starting at 10:35 to start on that. And then, so I don't know if they probably don't say when the announcement would be, due date for yeah, I don't know when they make a decision. But there's a 2-month window for people to write the application, so they're due the 1st of June. So it would probably be pretty close to the end of the year before we'd know if we were funded again. So, but anyway, it's potentially good news, but we'll see. So I wanted to mention that because I figured everybody would be interested in that. But as far as being definitive, we obviously can't do that at this point. But if I find out we don't qualify, I'll let everybody know, so you won't hold out your hopes on another year. But I'm assuming we will, and then we'll move forward with applying. I also am. I've asked about your leader and master trainer training needs before, and I've had to start and stop that compilation of needs a couple times. So I'm finishing that up now, I did want to mention on this call that we're looking at trying to get another leader for master trainer in the Tamondo class or classes. And I know Susanna is on the phone, and I talked with Susanna and Flossie at Clinica Tepeyac about the possibility of having her become trained, and it sounds like it's not a great time because she just got the leader training. Susanna, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Is that still, that email I got from you was just yesterday, so I assume that's still correct. Sorry, I didn't tell you the important thing here. We're trying to get we'd like to have 2 master trainers for Tamondo in Colorado. COA has 1 person that they want to get trained, and then the timeliness, though, is that there's a training in May 8th through 18th through the 22nd of May for Tamondo master trainer training. So if Clinica can't do that right now, I wondered if anyone else might have someone that speaks Spanish that might be interested in becoming a Tamondo trainer.
Oh.
Hearing none.
Connie, can you hear me?
Who was that?
Oh, this is Susana from Clinica.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry that we couldn't do that in this time. I really wanted to take the training, but we are in the transition with like the new director for health promotion, and also we have a big event on May, which I'm going to be organizing, and that's why. But if there is any other opportunity for us in the future, we really would like to take it.
Okay. Well, I mentioned in my email to you, Susanna, that I'll check and see if anybody at Stanford knows of any additional Tamondo classes that are happening before the end of August. Beyond that, if we don't get additional grant funding, and we don't, and hopefully we'll spend all our money so we won't have carryover money. So in that case, I wouldn't have anything to offer after August 31st in terms of financial support. But I'll see if there's anything else before that, and I'll let you know. And I don't hear anybody else. Is there anybody else who's thinking maybe?
Well, this is Mary Pat with COA. I know that in follow-up to our recent Tamondo training, which Susanna was part of, we had 18 leaders trained. There was some interest. Kelly was there every day for one purpose or another, and she had some inquiries within that group who just finished leader training, particularly 1 or 2 that she thought would really be excellent master trainers, and they were interested. I would have to follow up on specifics. I believe it is from a nonprofit organization maybe that resides in Jefferson County, I want to say. So anyway, there was at least some interest, and she did feel like that was someone who could be a good candidate. We'd love to have a second person, needless to say, so that we have 2 master trainers in the state. So I do think we have some interest.
Yeah, that's good. It's kind of tough to assess when they just got the training. But these were employees in Jefferson County or somewhere?
Correct. Yeah, they were staff of an agency. So I'd have to get more specifics on those individuals, which I can follow up with you offline.
Okay. And I have been trying to educate myself on all the training requirements through Stanford, so I empathize with some of the confusion that may exist sometimes in trying to make sure you're doing everything right. But do you know, and I'm trying to pull that out right now, Mary Pat, do you know off the top of your head if there is a requirement for leading a class after the leader training and before the master trainer training?
No, there isn't. As you know, sometimes I know SECAHEC has done this where you can actually back those up against each other. You can do a 4-day leader training and then you do a master training immediately the next day or two. I can't remember if it's a 1 or 2 day. I know a couple other license holders have done that in the last year. So no, there's not a requirement. And again, maybe Crystal or Monica even want to answer this, or Melissa, on how that works as far as then what is the requirement following the training. But you can actually run a leader training and a master training back to back and certify somebody in both.
Yeah, this is Crystal. To do, it's the leader training and then the master training is like this afternoon and then the next day. So kind of like the cross training where you can do the CDSMP and then cross over to DSMP after. It's pretty much the same process. And before we could do a leader training, we had to do 2 workshops as leaders before we were able to then do a leader training. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
I was just looking at that.
The requirement of just doing 2 workshops before we did a leader training, that was all.
That if you're, and thank you for mentioning that, and then if you're trained as a leader in DSMP or anything else, well, let's see. I asked all these questions. If you get CDSMP and say, and then you get the Tamondo as a cross-training, this gets confusing. But there's 2 ways of becoming a Tamondo master, or Tamondo,
Are you thinking Tamondo leader or Tamondo master?
You have to, if you can take the CDSMP plus the Tamondo cross-training, or you can just take a straight Tamondo master trainer training if it's available. Of course, there's a lot more opportunities to take CDSMP and the Tamondo master training. So if, this gets kind of confusing, but if you just take the Tamondo, master leader training and it's 4.5 days, then your requirement is just to lead Tamondo classes. So you'd have to lead 2 Tamondo workshops before you could train master trainers. But
well, you can't train master trainers. You can train leaders.
I'm sorry, leaders before you can serve as a master trainer. But if your path is to take the CDSMP 4.5 day master trainer training and link on the cross-train and the Tamondo, that would still enable you to be a Tamondo master trainer. But the 2 workshops requirement that was just mentioned, that would apply to both the CDSMP and Tamondo, unless you wanted to just drop the Tamondo. So like I was actually thinking of Susanna, and you're probably totally confused like this right now, but if someone wanted to teach only Tamondo and they had to go through CDSMP master training and do the Tamondo crossover training, they'd be qualified to teach in both or train in both, but you'd have to meet the requirements in each of those certifications. So it doubles the number of classes.
Yes.
And if you want to just drop the CDSMP, if you don't ever want to do that in English, then you can just maintain the Tamondo and just meet the requirements for that.
Okay.
And I know, Connie, because we did the CDSMP, when we became masters, it was just the CDSMP. We did not do the crossover DSMP master training at that point. We ended up doing that one online. And when we became DSMP master trainers, we just had to do 1 workshop before we could do DSMP leader training. So it wasn't the 2 workshop requirement once we had already become CDSMP masters and did all of those requirements. When we did the crossover, it was just 1 workshop before.
Oh, okay. They give some scenarios. That is correct. They give some scenarios in this table, and that wasn't clear in there, but there's another place where they do say what you just said. So must complete, for master trainers, must complete at least 1 workshop in any other program before training leaders in that program. So yes, so you would have to do like 3, 2 in CDSMP and 1 in DSMP, for example. But anyway, so I guess, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, just to perhaps confuse it a little bit further, but in our case of our COA staff, Kelly, since she's already gone through a 4-day Tamando training as a leader, which like Susanna just did, and she's now been able to teach 2 classes, once she gets her master training, she's already met that requirement. They'll go back and give her credit for that within the last 12-month period. So she doesn't have to now teach another 2 workshops to be able to teach leader training. So it also can accumulate to your benefit.
Okay.
So if Susanna starts leading classes now that she's a leader, and she gets a couple under her belt and she gets to master training in Tamando in the fall, then she will be automatically a master trainer.
Oh, okay.
Does that help? You don't have to go back and now teach another 2 classes after your training, if it's in that window of 12 months. So you know, I would say continue on and get your classes going, because that will only help you.
Yeah, just keep in mind that I can't guarantee any funding after August 31st to support that. What I think it was Holly, or maybe it was Whitney, I forget who it was that let me know that there are opportunities for classes other than in Stanford, other than at Stanford and in California. And those others, there's a couple others that are leader training. All of these are the same week, which is kind of odd, but I mean, master trainer trainings are all May 18 to 22nd, the Tamando in New Mexico, and then there's one in North Carolina and one in Massachusetts, I think. So,
yeah,
but anyway, in any case, they're typically, they're in all cases, all those 3 cases, it's less expensive both for the tuition and in terms of lodging. So those are good opportunities to keep in mind for the future. But other than what Mary Pat said about the 2 people that are possibilities that were in the training or the leader training recently, I'm not hearing anybody else say that they might have somebody in mind for to become a master trainer in Tamando. Is that correct? So we should move on. Okay. Okay, that's it on that. And one other thing I was just going to mention, apologies if I already said this at the last meeting, but when I was talking with Lindsay Blackwilder, I was following up on our in-person meeting where we talked about what the future of the program looks like for, you know, with sustainability, the needs are to develop some state-level, statewide potential funding sources that everybody could tap into, or, you know, most people could, depending on any geographic limitations, and that somebody has to be in charge of leading that and doing the other functions of the collaborative, most likely. So COA and AHEC had expressed interest, and AHEC needs to be, Lindsay Blackwilder needs to see if their organization is interested in that at this point, because of they've been in transition with directors for a while, et cetera. But anyway, as part of that, regardless of how that shakes out, I think we need to start defining what what the expectations are for everybody, and what you would want that entity to do. And we did talk about that at the in-person meeting, so it's going to take the brainstorming that we did there, and then send that out to people to have a little bit more thoughtful time to consider what you think is needed or desirable, so we can, you know, start looking at what that structure or what that function would all entail. So I'll send that out to you for input.
Great.
That's my last item, other than the participant retention.
Okay. Good. I'm glad to hear that we might have some guidelines, or, you know, some direction on that next step. All right. So I think we're moving along here to participant retention, and I know this was a suggestion that came from the collaborative a couple months ago, so we wanted to try to address that and just get everybody's input or suggestions or ideas on how to establish participant retention. it was definitely a big topic. Last week I was in Chicago at the American Society of Aging conference, and I saw several breakout sessions were about participant retention. So it's obviously an issue near and dear to all of our hearts. So, Connie,
well, that's great. You've got some fresh ideas from other places. That would be great to hear. Just to clarify, where this issue that I suggested it after talking with, and I know it has been discussed on the conference calls, as Mary Pat said, and lots of people are interested in improving their recruitment retention rates. But part of the issue that the person that asked me about it is that she was finding that people would show up and then drop out because they'd come and say, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, I'm out of here. So one of the questions that she had was, how are people informing prospective participants ahead of time in a way that gets them, still encourages them to come and shows it as a positive experience, but is realistic, so they know kind of what the expectations are.
Ooh, what's that? Well, good question. And in some of the discussions that I was able to be a part of, I missed some of the other ones, but they did talk about class zeros, which I will say, we don't typically do a class zero, which is that opportunity to bring folks together and explain the curriculum and the workshop program and the commitment and what it would look like, as certainly being a good way to help with participant retention. So that class zero is just that orientation opportunity, and then you start the class the following week. So I'm curious if others are using that and having good success with it.
Hey, we're getting, I don't know if everybody's hearing it. It sounds like somebody's playing a video game.
I know, I don't know where it's
coming from.
There's
some blooping and things. I don't know if anybody has some background noise. They could mute the phone briefly or move away from it or something.
So any other thoughts on the class zero helping you retain participation? Okay, then.
I had a question about that, and it seems like in some ways it'd be a good idea, but then I'm wondering if people object to it because it's like, oh, now it's 7 weeks long kind of thing. Or have you found that to be a problem, or Mary Pat, or is it generally a good experience?
Well, I'm much like what you're saying. We don't typically do it. We pretty much advertise the 6-week session, and that's what folks are going to do. As far as a class zero, the only time we really instigated that on a regular basis was when we were part of the pilot project for the Cancer Thriving and Surviving curriculum, and it was a research study, so we had to have a class zero to explain the whole research process and get a participant consent form signed. So I will say that in doing that, which was mandated, we certainly had some people who then chose not to be part of the program after they had that orientation, and then they started the following week. It does obviously make it 7 weeks, which I think is something everyone has to look at, because that means 7 weeks you have somebody teaching, or you have to have a room booked. It expands the cost, no doubt. And do folks get a little deterred by another week? We did have good luck with it, but at the same time, I'll say that it doesn't mean we started doing it on all of our other programs. We have not.
Yeah.
So there were agencies from other states that always do it and have some pretty good luck with it. So that's why I was curious.
Well, I was wondering, yeah, and then it's additional leader time and all that. So, but what about, how do you all let people know so they're, basically understanding as best, that they can what's involved? I mean, I know most of the materials explain it's 2.5 hours and 6 weeks and that. I don't know if you, or maybe others don't have that problem very often. I don't know. I'd like to hear from whoever wants to chime in.
Connie. Hi, this is Monica. Like everybody, I'm sure we really struggle with that too. We just on our flyers and stuff that goes out, we just try to give as much information in a short form. As far as the basics is, what the class is about. And then, I just, it seems to work for us as far as that goes. And then, of course, we put our number in there as far as more information. But, we have gone on the radio, every so often, maybe even just once a year, twice a year or something. That might help too, and they do like a special, something rather, just so that we can kind of explain what we're about and why we're out there and what we're out there for and stuff like that. So that kind of helps us too.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I know on flyers and stuff, it's so limited. You don't want to. I've revised our flyers so many times because I'm feeling it's getting too long, and people say, well, it's hard to read, blah, 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 blah. So, that is hard to do. But in just so many words,
Yeah. And I don't know what the issues were. Like, did they not understand it was 6 weeks, or did they not like the other people, or did they not like or think they really wanted to, I don't know, who knows, work on that?
Yeah, I think with us, the biggest thing that we get is the 6 weeks. Oh, it's 6 weeks long, I don't know if I can do that, or, I think the biggest thing is the 6 weeks. And like we tell them, it's a commitment you need to make, and, at what expense is it worth it?
Yeah, it's like 6 weeks versus the rest of your life.
Exactly.
But I'm sure that I would guess that everybody's letting people know that it's 6 weeks to begin with, so it doesn't seem like they'd come and then leave. But
right. Yeah, that's put on our flyers too, that it's 2.5 hours a week for 6 weeks. So, and I think a lot of people have kind of grumbled about the 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. Once they get there and they take the class, they love it. But it's just getting them there, somehow.
Yeah, it sounds like you don't have as much of the problem that she was mentioning of people showing up and then leaving or quitting.
Yeah, and we do have that too. I don't know how you go about changing that. And again, I think it comes down to commitment and what their expectations of the class are.
Yeah. And maybe if they connect with the leader, I don't know, I'm speculating if there's a leader that's warm and welcoming and they like them, they may be.
And that makes a big difference too, yeah.
But other thoughts?
I was going to add one of the other suggestions made last week. A community, if folks on the front end have a sense of community. So again, if you're doing a class that's in a retirement community and they all reside together anyway, the retention tends to be higher because they already know each other. And we've seen that for sure. I think when we have a class that's at a clinic and they all are attached to the same set of providers and they're familiar with that clinic, the retention will be a little bit higher. So I thought it was just a thought they added that if you get, I know with our Tomondo classes right now up in the Eagle County area, they're all getting generated by a group, a community group, be it based from a church, or these are all parents of the daycare center or whatever. They're more apt to commit and to stay. So I think just in our initial recruitment process, looking at that.
That's a good point, because I could see where they might feel more comfortable and also more accountable, like if they're down at dinner or seeing somebody at church or whatever, to say, how come you didn't come back? So they might feel a little bit of peer pressure to keep coming, which is a good.
I think Glenda has really good luck with that. I know they do a lot in church communities, if I'm not mistaken, Glenda, and I think you have a good sense of retention there.
Yes, we do. We've done really well with that.
What's your secret? I mean, as far as retention, do you think it's because of what Mary Pat was saying, like if it's a church community, or do you have good retention regardless of where the location is?
It varies. We've done some zero sessions, and that tends to help so that people know exactly what they're going to be up against. And other than that, it's because people are ready, It's such a huge problem if they are ready.
Yeah, good point.
I wonder if there's better retention overall in the diabetes classes, because there's a specific condition that everybody has, and maybe feel more of a bond. I don't know if people have had that experience or not.
Connie, this is Monica again. But, that's very true, because I think we can fill our diabetes-specific classes quicker than we can our chronic disease. And I know that they call in for us and say, well, I've got chronic pain, I want to get into your chronic disease. And, in some ways, and I know that we've done this chronic disease class over and over again, but I guess as far as chronic pain and that type of thing, it makes me a little nervous having them just come into our chronic disease class, because, we're not specific in that, or not yet anyway. And so, I guess the way I'm thinking is that it's a little fearful for me, because somebody that comes in specific for, let's just say, chronic pain, and it doesn't quite hit exactly, or it's not specific to chronic pain, that they leave that class, with the idea that, well, it wasn't specific, it didn't really hit what the needs I have, which I mean could be for anybody, but so when you're talking about, a specific chronic condition other than diabetes, I mean, for the most part it helps. But like for something, let's just say like chronic pain, looking back on the class, I'm not real sure that it's specific enough, to help with something like that. So
I see. Yeah.
I think you bring up a good point, though, because, and I know Melissa has been active in that. When we teach the cancer thriving or surviving, the retention's amazing, because they probably have that common bond, like you said, just like classes with the diabetes or the pain management. I hear it's the exact same way. There's this common foundation they're all coming in with, so it's finding them.
She's not here though.
So I think you're right about that.
Do you go ahead.
This is Melissa. I just was going to add, in terms of retention, I have a couple of thoughts. One of the advantages of having the registration system the way we do is people come through me, so I can, when they call about the class, I can give them a pretty good heads up about what's going to be involved, and they know that it's the 6 weeks and the time commitment, and we talk about how the activities move along pretty quickly, so I can often, answer some of those concerns about the length of the class and the 6 weeks. And sometimes, and this is kind of out there, but, sometimes retention, I think, is really, we have to look at numbers and we want people to complete. But sometimes the people that stay, even if it's a class that has some people that drop out, often the ones that stay still really get a lot out of it. So, it's like you want people to stay and get involved, but maybe those people that just aren't ready, or for whatever reason they don't stay. So I don't know that this is really, like I said, good for national people to look at, but sometimes you just, you lose those people. They aren't ready, but the ones that stay get a lot out of it anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I was going to share a couple other things as far as on the recruitment side. When we are able to do local articles in community papers that have a testimony involved, or somebody from the community has had this experience and they can quote them, then on the front end it seems like they get a better sense of what the class is about, and the retention then at the class is better. So there's that front end. I know Monica was talking about flyers and articles. When we have an article that has a little more meat to it, as well as referencing somebody local, we tend to get a better sense. People tend to sign up and know what they're getting. So that's helpful on the front end for retention. And the other suggestion I wanted to just throw out there was, it's not successful everywhere, but we do have a few clinics that use the incentive deposit. So people sign up for $20, and if they attend 4 or more, they get the $20 back. So that has some success value to it. So just to give you some other suggestions.
Okay. Okay. Not hearing anyone else want to add anything. So.
I have a suggestion too, Connie. This is Susana.
Okay. Yeah,
also, okay. For example, if like what we were doing in the past, where we had funding, we were giving the books. We were giving out the books at the end of the classes, and we were telling the participants that they will have a book if they complete the course. So this is something that was kind of an incentive for them, and I don't know if there is available some funding for doing that for now, but this is something that helped us in the past, and I wanted to share.
Okay. Do they not typically use the workbooks during the class? I mean, like during the period of, during the 6 weeks at home, or?
Yes, we were using it, but they needed to take it back to us. So if they want to keep the book, we encourage them to complete the class or to take at least 4 classes.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that helped keep them there?
Well, it worked for us. It helped us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Well, we have about 3 minutes left, just to be the timekeeper here. Any more thoughts on participant retention? Okay, some good discussion. I think it's always nice to kind of network and hear what others are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I'm going to move on to our slide on what's coming up for training updates, just to give everybody some updates. Nothing really new, I don't think, has been added to our, and these are all on our self-management website as well. Obviously, there's several that COA is going to be hosting in May, and keep in mind there is some scholarship funds available for those. It's a process through Connie and myself, but particularly Connie put together a nice application form if you're interested in any of those. I threw in the motivational interviewing one just to let folks know that's not a evidence-based program or anything, but in case anybody's interested, see me. We're doing a 1-day motivational interviewing training in our May Academy, which is really valuable. It's a lot of the tools you use with reflective listening and change talk and all those kinds of things as you are talking to participants, getting them ready to see if they're ready for a class, etc. So anyway, I just threw that on there. It's not showing up anywhere else. But we obviously are doing a chronic disease, a diabetes, which is next week, and Glenda's got 5 coming to that. And then the chronic pain, which is happening in May, and that's a 4-day training. So that's for someone who is not yet certified in any other curriculum. This is a full 4-day training. And then we will be doing, just an FYI, we're going to be doing a pain cross training. It's not showing up. We just talked about it this morning. So like a 2-day cross-training for those who are already certified and want to get the cross-trained in chronic pain. That's going to happen probably the 3rd week of August, that week of August 17th. So we're hoping to sort of get that in there under the wire if that becomes a workshop that some are interested in doing, and again, maybe utilizing some SUA funds. Then there will be that added to our website. And then, of course, Well counties and North Colorado's are in September.
Where is CU Health Center?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. I was just asking where CU Health Center, Medical Center of the Rockies is.
I believe that training is in Loveland, actually.
It is. This is Ellen. Yes, that one is. So, Holly, are you still on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Weld County AAA Greeley Senior Center, you're doing another one in September?
No, we asked to have that one removed. I'm not sure
okay. We'll remove that.
How that got on there.
I was like, wow.
That would be me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
did not remove it, so sorry I didn't get that message.
Yeah, we're not having a class there or nothing, so that can be removed.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Mary Pat.
Ellen, is there a charge for your class?
No, there is not.
And then for COA, the ones, let's see, the one that you said, like the cancer cross training, are the 4-day ones are $650? Is that right?
Correct. 4-day ones are $650. 2-day ones are $325.
Okay.
And
so
Mary Pat, this is Ellen.
Cross training for cancer is $325, and then when we do the cross training for chronic pain, it will be $325.
Okay.
Did anyone else have a training coming up that we need to add to the collaborative list? If not, again, just contact me or anyone at COA and we'll add it to the collaborative, and I will take off Weld County right away today. Okay, then that really kind of wraps up our meeting. This was still another suggested agenda item that we talk about HIPAA compliance issues in our processes, and that could be some good discussion. Any other topics that anyone wants to throw out to me today, and I'll add it? I'm not hearing anything. Always feel free to shoot me an email. I know Connie thinks of, gets like good ideas, and she just sends us an email, and we're able to add them. So appreciate that, Connie, keeping us on some good topics. So
good.
I think without further ado, I shall formally end this meeting and stop our recording. And thank you all so very much. And we look forward to our next meeting, Thursday, May 7th, 9 to 10:30 a.m. And I think that would wrap it up.
Great, thank you.
All right,
everyone.
the recording is being stopped.